of the Premier's speech tonight have to run the gauntlet of police, which is fine. I'm happy they're here. They're going to keep everybody safe. But they have to run the gauntlet of sexual activists calling them names like fascist and transphobe before they go inside and listen to one of the most interesting women in the country speak. And I say that not as a conservative, but as somebody who appreciates a bold politician who says and does things that the voters want. That's what Danielle Smith is doing right now. In fact, I would suggest that these people across the way normally would call themselves feminists on a good day, but here they are protesting one of the most powerful women in the country. The irony of it all. Sheila Gunn Reid for Rebel News, and I'm here in Ottawa, our nation's capital. I'm here on another story, but while I was here, we discovered that there would be a protest against Alberta Premier Danielle Smith, who's in town to open the Alberta Ottawa office. Basically, it's a consulate here in the nation's capital set to advance Alberta's interests. But what we have behind us here is a group of transgender activists and their sex activist allies, and they're here protesting Danielle Smith because she just announced a slate of pro-parent policies. They include no hormonal transition of minor children before the age of 15, no top or bottom trans surgery before the age of 18. Children cannot have sexual materials discussed with them in school without the explicit consent of the parents, and children cannot be socially transitioned in the classroom without the consent of parents. Smith has also said that athletes must participate against those of the same biological sex. So no boys pretending to be girls, turning girls into hamburger on the rugby field. There are about 100 to 250 activists across the street versus a handful of people who have come out to support Danielle Smith's parents' rights legislation. There's a heavy police presence. However, they don't seem to be keeping the two sides apart. And since my videographer, Kian Simone, and I are working alone, we don't have security with us, we're not going to wander across the street for our own safety, particularly because Fae Johnstone, a transgender activist that is funded by the federal government, has already whipped up the crowd against me and identified me and told me to go F myself. Let's remember, this is the crowd that's perfectly okay with committing irreparable medical violence against other people's kids to advance their own agenda. They'd be perfectly fine with hurting a full-grown woman and a full-grown man just because we hold dangerous thoughts that disagree with theirs. These trans protesters blaring a megaphone right in a man's face, and the cops are standing back, letting it all happen. I'm surprised that violence hasn't broken out yet, and I'll be shocked if it doesn't, to be honest with you. Josh, what are you doing here after the likes of Antifa have repeatedly assaulted you, attacked you all across the country? You still show up. Why?
Yeah, Antifa, they've never really scared us before. Obviously, they've been fairly violent in the past, but it's never been a concern of ours. I believe that our message is more important than any physical wound they may inflict. When you look at the numbers of mutilation, the wounds being done at those who take an oath to do no harm, when you look at that, it really inspires you to want to say something. So I've really never been terrified of the violent extremists that may wish to harm us.
Yeah, there's a dude over there dressed as a lady trying to whip the crowd up against me. You were a student who was exposed to some of the things that Danielle Smith is bringing in legislation against. What do you think about her whole slate of parents' rights policies that she's bringing in Alberta?
I would say over the last several years, the entire nation, the world in general, has taken 1,000 steps backwards, and Danielle Smith did just take a step forward, and I think that is encouraging. I'm very wary of the language politicians use, especially after Danielle Smith was somebody that refused to support me when I was arrested in her province, arrested for hate speech, and her comment section was being spammed with that. She refused to talk about it. So that definitely does influence my view on her, but I am impressed to see her come out at least partially in support of parental rights. But I think there needs to be a bolder stand against gender ideology, especially with them allowing hormones for those 16-year-olds to take hormones. That's a problem. And then also just the fact that a province is looking into bringing healthcare workers to do harm. And it's very concerning, but I am encouraged to see a step forward in the right direction. I hope to see more.
I've only been here 20 minutes, and I was over there, and I was pushed. So the violence, this is my first protest. The violence that I've seen today is all from that side. I myself was pushed, so I left. Because violence is violence, right? This from a group that says words are violence.
Right.
Listen, words are not violence. Pushing someone is violence. There's a difference, and these guys need to know that.
Earlier, at first we just thought they were barricading the entrance to the bank, but it seems as though the Premier will be coming in this way to give her speech tonight, and the police presence just got insane. The two sides are completely divided from each other, which I think is good. It's probably best for everybody's safety, but also for the safety of the Premier. They've pulled out all the stops, and I'm glad to see it.
Shame on you! Shame on you!
So we're watching attendees of the Premier's speech tonight have to run the gauntlet of police, which is fine. I'm happy they're here. They're going to keep everybody safe. But they have to run the gauntlet of sexual activists calling them names like fascist and transphobe before they go inside and listen to one of the most interesting women in the country speak. And I say that not as a conservative, but as somebody who appreciates a bold politician who says and does things that the voters want. That's what Danielle Smith is doing right now. In fact, I would suggest that these people across the way normally would call themselves feminists on a good day, but here they are protesting one of the most powerful women in the country. The irony of it all.
Shame on fascists! Shame on fascists! Shame on fascists! Shame on fascists! Shame on fascists!
They're accusing just a handful of people that are here of being fascists, of being transphobic, of being violent. But this is a pretty well-behaved bunch over here.
I'll be honest with you, those guys on the other side, there's no they in us. We're all Canadian, but sadly they've been indoctrinated well enough to believe they are a special human being. They are different than us. This is the sad part. I pray for them. I wish them well. But they talk about haters and stuff. They accuse us of us being far right, which is we are fair right. They are the fair wrong and far wrong, and that's why they don't understand the value. By the time they recognize their mistake, it's gonna be too late, and we're gonna lose our country. Time to put the stop for this madness and educate our kids. They're all young people, but they are confused and they're not in a normal state. I can tell you that.
I think that's a wrap for us here in Ottawa from just outside of Danielle Smith's speech. The last few attendees are running the gauntlet of police to get inside safely so that they don't get attacked or mobbed by the Antifa transgender activists. And my videographer, Kian Simoni, and I are going to do the same. We're going to get out of here before the Antifa mob disperses and remembers that we're here. From Ottawa, I'm Sheila Gunn Reid. The transgender issue is one that the mainstream media is completely homogenous on. They believe there's only one viewpoint on the subject. At Rebel News, we strive to tell the other side of the story. To see the other side of the story, please go to transmadness.com.